let's talk about this. No, not that. This. The white background of death that every beginner falls into. Artists have been using the white backgrounds in online spaces for their character art since the internet first allowed us to post our sketchbook pics. But art isn't just characters. Most forms of art that involve characters have a background, and while most people aren't even sure where to start on their environmental work, we can use our pre-existing understanding of painting and drawing fundamentals from character art to create beautiful environmental work. My name's Woj, I'm a concept artist in training, and this video is to jumpstart your pursuit of environmental artwork and background design for people who may have never done something like this before. I'm going to be as program agnostic as I can be, though I can only speak for two primary programs for art at the moment, Clip Studio Paint Pro and Photoshop. I use both interchangeably, but one of them typically does something the other can't, so I'm well versed in the tools that they have and the tools that set them apart. Blank canvas up, I tend to use 3840 by 2160 at 300 for my work, since I'd rather set it to a print resolution and downscale than need to upscale it later. Once we're on the canvas, first thing we're going to want to do is set a goal for ourselves. This is when you need to take out a pencil and paper and write down what it is you want to work on. We need to have something in mind so we can avoid absent-mindedly doodling. For this project, my goal will be simple. A large canyon with an alien ship at the bottom. Easy? Right, now we thumbnail. The simplest way to make thumbnails is to start with a few shapes, the same aspect ratio as the canvas, which can be done by just filling the canvas and scaling down, then pop onto another layer, mask it to the first layer, and boom. We now have everything we need for a thumbnail, except we want 5 more of these. So make 5 more of these little nubbins. Once we've got the thumbnails set up, we take a pencil brush and start sketching. We want to keep the thumbnails small. We have to set up our canvas using these at a small size so that once you're done, everything is visually distinct and things don't blend together. Once we've got the sketches done, we'll grab another layer, still masked, and go in with a large flat brush and block in our atmospheric perspective values. Now that we're talking values, let me briefly touch on what it is we're trying to do here. When you see a photograph of a horizon, notice that things get bluer and less contrasted the further from your eye you go. We can replicate this in our paintings by making things closer to the foreground with more contrast and darker, and things further from the foreground with less contrast and lighter. Simple, good. Once we've got all this laid out, we want to take a critical eye and begin to look at which ones fit our project and which ones don't. I like this one, so I'm going to use this one. Copy the layer, make the bottom layer invisible, and scale this up so that one thumbnail fits your entire canvas. It's okay that it looks shitty at this resolution, that's the point, we're not keeping it. From here, we lower the opacity and get to work blocking in our big shapes and colors. We want to focus on big, bold shapes first. Don't get caught up in the details too early because we're still figuring out the overall composition. Think of it like sculpting out of clay. We're working with broad strokes before chiseling in the fine details. For our canyon scene, I'll start by blocking in the canyon walls with a dark reddish brown, the midground with a muted orange, and the background with hazy blue to push it into the distance. As you lay down these initial colors, don't stress too much about perfect accuracy. We're still working in a rough stage, focusing on the overall mood and composition. If something feels off, adjust it now before moving forward, though I'll teach you how to fix things in the latter parts of the process in a bit. Next, let's refine the lighting. Imagine where the main light source is coming from. Is it natural sunlight, an alien glow, or something else? For this piece, I'll place the light source above and slightly to the left, casting long shadows from the canyon walls and the alien ship. To emphasize the depth and structure, I'll use a soft brush to add some bounce light in the shadows, reflecting subtle colors from the sky and the surroundings. When I work with shadow, I tend to use the multiply layer with some dark blue, and then I mask out the sections I don't want visible. At this point, we can start thinking about texture and detailing. I like to use texture brushes to roughen up the canyon walls and add subtle noise to the surface. This makes the environment feel more organic. You can use photo textures with a soft light blending mode, custom brushes, and custom shapes, a Photoshop exclusive tool, sorry Clip Studio users, to speed up the process, but keep it loose. Don't overwork any areas just yet. Now let's add the focal point, the alien ship. Since this is the most important part of our composition, it needs to stand out. And because it is a hard surface, I'm going to be using the lasso tool to make sure all of the lines are solid. I'll use a contrasting color, maybe a sleek metallic silver, against the earthy tones of the canyon to make it pop. I'll also add some glowing elements, maybe blue luminescent lights along the edges, to make it look more advanced and mysterious. Remember to integrate it into the scene naturally. Don't just paste it on top. Add dust, shadows, and atmospheric effects to make it look like it belongs here. At this stage, take a step back and assess your composition. Squint your eyes or zoom out to see if the values and colors are working together. If something isn't reading well, now's the time to tweak it. When we want to tweak something at this stage, we can use the Liquify tool, a brush in Clip Studio and a filter in Photoshop. It lets us push and pull things without losing their structure too much, and it's incredibly useful for making tweaks later on. From here, we can move into the refining details, such as small cracks in the rock, subtle lighting adjustments, and refining the edges of the ship. But the hard part is done. We've established a strong composition, clear lighting, and a balanced scene. The rest is just polish. So, if you followed along, you should now have a solid foundation for your environment. Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and most importantly, have fun with it. Don't be afraid to push things further, try different lighting setups, or introduce new elements into the scene. That's it for today. If you found this helpful, drop a like, leave a comment, and let me know what kind of art tips you'd like to see covered next. And keep creating. I'll see you next video.